What's up everybody, Maran here for another weekly update. So I apologize I didn't have a weekly update last week like I mentioned in the update 2 weeks ago. I was out of town and so unfortunately wasn't able to do a weekly update. But of course if you follow me on Twitter, that's where I retweet all the automotive news stories that are happening as they happen. So you can always follow me on Twitter at Maran if you want to stay up to date to the very minute of all the news going on. But anyway, lots of exciting news that happened over the past 2 weeks and a lot of interesting stuff here just in the past few days. So let's just get right into it. The first is the 2019 Corvette ZR1 has leaked out unofficially online on the Car and Driver front page of the new issue for the magazine. And so, thanks to the Corvette forum, they posted the entire article. So we have all the information on it here too, or at least all the info that Car and Driver had on it. So we actually, whenever this leaked out, Corvette, like the YouTube page for the Chevy Corvette, they posted up a little quick teaser that said that they're going to have the reveal on the 12th of this month, November 12th, in Dubai, and that's when they'll officially reveal it and give all this info. But here's all the info already. 750 horsepower, 680 pound-feet of torque from an LT5 motor, which is basically a pumped-up version of the LT4 with a larger supercharger on it. And so Chevy says 0 to 60 in under 3 seconds, a sub 11-second quarter-mile time, top speed over 210 miles per hour. This car is only going to be available in the United States, and they said that allowed them to have a louder exhaust, so they don't have to worry about international noise regulations, and also it allowed them to have a more aggressive hood, so they didn't have to worry about the pedestrian safety standards that they have over in Europe. So this car is US only, but that made it just even crazier. So I think it's probably a good decision, although it's unfortunate for those of you overseas. But another interesting thing, mentioning that hood, in the article, the Car and Driver says, according to Chevy, you can actually still see part of the supercharger there through that hood, and so you can actually see it moving around under acceleration, similar to like the shaker hoods that the Challenger has and stuff like that, which sounds really awesome. They say the exhaust will shoot flames as well, but this isn't strictly a race car. So they said this actually is going to be set up to be a little less extreme than the Z06 in that it's going to be a little more accessible, a little less eager to bite you, as far as, the back end wanting to kick out and stuff. They say this car is a lot more stable. There's going to be two different versions. There's one with a large rear spoiler that's pictured, and there's going to be a smaller rear spoiler one, which we've already seen spied testing in the two different variants. And so that smaller spoiler is going to be for those people that want to actually use that rear hatch a little bit more, because an interesting thing in this interview, the Car and Driver, is they said that, a lot of people just put whenever they're putting a huge spoiler on their C7 Corvette, they just mount it to the hatch. But they say if you're generating real huge amounts of downforce, you can't mount it to the hatch because it just won't. The hatch will fly off. It's not sturdy enough. So they actually mounted it to the rear fascia, and I guess the mountings go all the way down to the bumper beam and the composite body. So I mean, it's on the real frame of the car, not just mounted on in some effort to look more aggressive. This is actual real downforce this car is generating, and it's going to be really, really impressive. Other things, it has magnetic dampers. It doesn't have the spool valve shocks like the ZL1 1LE does. So it's just more of a little bit of a more comfortable setup, I think. Although it will still be a track monster and faster than the Z06 in every way. But it's also going to be more reliable, hopefully, as far as cooling goes. There's 4 more heat exchangers over Z06, and the 2 intercoolers that it has are double the size of the ones on the Z06. So cooling is going to be much more improved, and that's why you have that gaping front end to house all those coolers and make everything nice and run nice and cool there. But yeah, otherwise the only other info we know is we've already seen a convertible version spy testing. So although that hasn't been officially leaked out or anything, we know that is also coming. So we know this is going to be a little bit of a softer and a more widely produced ZR1 than the previous one, I think. But that's going to be a great thing. It's going to be very impressive. 750 horsepower is going to be awesome. So very cool to see that. Another car that was officially revealed this past week was the 2018 BMW BMW M3 CS. And we knew this was kind of coming. We saw it spied just a couple of weeks ago here. And so now we have the details on it. It's going to be a limited run production. They're only making 1,200 worldwide, 550 for the United States. It's basically just lighter, more powerful, a little more agile. It's got 453 horsepower, which is a little bit of a nice increase there over the competition package, which I think is 440. 443 pound-feet of torque here for the CS. 7-speed DCT only, no manual. Yeah, same transmission they've always used. 0 to 60 in 3.7 seconds here for the CS, so a nice little improvement there. 174 mile per hour top speed. So other stuff, it gets a bunch of the M Sport stuff as standard here, basically, instead of having to option it on yourself. So you get the M Sport exhaust system, active M suspension, M differential. It's 110 pounds lighter, though, thanks to carbon fiber reinforced plastic for the hood, roof, and a bunch of the aero parts there, the front lip and all that kind of stuff. It has forged wheels that are lighter. There's also a two-tone leather option that you can get for it as well, which makes it a little bit more unique. And yeah, so like I said, very limited, very rare. No pricing was listed here, but I'm sure it's going to be a good bit more expensive than a normal, competition package one. And so anyway, cool to see that. Lamborghini this past week revealed this crazy concept called the Terzo Millennio, which stands for Third Millennium. And so this is a collaboration they did with MIT, actually. As you can see, it's very crazy. It's a fully electric Lamborghini, and they said they haven't developed how it would sound or what they would do as far as the sound part, but this is mostly just kind of showing, I guess, where their future design direction is headed, and it's just a fun kind of concept. They say it would use supercapacitor batteries for faster discharge and recharge, so it would help with super fast acceleration and whatnot. There's all kinds of other futuristic things bundled into this, but again, this is just a concept, nothing that's going to be built anytime soon, but very cool to see nonetheless. Speaking of Lamborghini's more upcoming plans here over the next couple of years, couple different stories here. First, talking about the Aventador replacement, which is coming in 2020. And so caradvice.com.au spoke to Lamborghini's chief commercial officer, who said there are still a few more surprises to come with Aventador. But he said he can't say any more or else they'd kill him. And so basically, a couple of things that he did mention, though, about the replacement of the Aventador is that it's going to remain naturally aspirated and non-hybrid. So that's for the top dog, Aventador or whatever they end up calling the new one. The V12 model is going to stay naturally aspirated, which is really refreshing to hear. But it's a little bit of a mixed bag when it comes to the baby Lambo. So the Huracan replacement is coming in 2022. So still, several years off here. But Autocar talked with the Lamborghini CEO, who was talking more about the Huracan replacement. And he says it'll be the first plug-in hybrid sports car from Lambo. We know there's going to be a plug-in hybrid version of the Urus SUV most likely as well, but as far as this Huracan replacement, he's quoted as saying that car will need hybridization. Hybridization is the answer, not full electric. There is still a lot of potential for the V12. The right approach for us is to have the V10 and V12 to suit our customers, then be ready to switch over to a hybrid at the right moment. So it sounds like what this will be is similar to what you see in stuff like the LaFerrari and stuff, where you can still have a big naturally aspirated motor in it, but then if you're in a place like Paris in 2030 where a gasoline engine isn't allowed, then you could switch over the electric mode and just go along silently, and then once you get out of city limits, then turn on the awesome engine and have a blast. And I think it's going to be that combined with just a lot of this hypercar technology trickling down from the 918 and stuff like that into cars like this new baby Lambo. It certainly makes sense, especially for city dwellers and those types of people who are a lot of the buyers of the Huracan and whatever its replacement will be. And so it certainly makes sense. But yeah, so I wouldn't be super scared of this hybrid, because like I said, it sounds like they're committed to still having awesome engines in their vehicles, just having the hybrid to kind of help it out a little bit, fill in some of the torque gaps, and hopefully just continue to improve it and still give you great sound and very dramatic driving. So Anyway, speaking of the LaFerrari and whatnot, though, Ferrari this past week has showed off the FXX-K Evo. So this Evo version just basically has more advanced aero than the standard FXX-K. It's, again, one of these very limited vehicles that's only track legal. It's not street legal. It's one of these ones where you buy it, but then Ferrari keeps it for you until you go to their race events where you can race it like 9 times a year, and then that's it. And that's basically all these are used for. But anyway, this thing's going to be pretty crazy as far as that downforce. They say at 124 miles per hour, it generates 1,411 pounds of downforce. So, yeah, very impressive track beast, I'm sure. And so cool to see that. Another car with crazy numbers is Hennessey revealed the Venom F5 this past week, and I was actually there for the worldwide debut at SEMA, so you can watch my video on it when I saw it and filmed it in person that I posted last week. But it's now all the numbers are coming out on it, all the details, and it's going to be impressive if they can deliver on it. So it's going to have a 7.4 liter twin turbo V8 engine. It's going to do 1,600 horsepower, 1,300 pound-feet of torque, and they're claiming a 301 mile per hour top speed for this thing, which is going to be crazy. And 0 to 186 miles per hour is going to take supposedly less than 10 seconds. 0 to 249 miles per hour and then back to 0, all will happen in less than 30 seconds. Again, these are just what they're claiming. We'll have to actually get these numbers verified. Anyway, it's going to be using a 7-speed single-clutch transmission with paddle shifters. Carbon fiber body that's completely unique. It's not based on a Lotus Elise anymore. And so, yeah, they're saying the weight with that carbon fiber body is going to be 2,950 pounds. So, I mean, very lightweight. That's like 100 pounds heavier than a BRZ with that much power. Just mind-blowing. Anyway, they're going to be $1.6 million, which is also a mind-blowing figure, and they're only building 24 of them, and John Hennessey himself is hand-selecting the buyers. So, going to be pretty tough to get your hands on one, again, if these things actually do get delivered and deliver as promised. And that's going to be the big, thing, because they did do 270 miles per hour in the Venom GT, and that was, kind of a record, but wasn't a production car record since they didn't build enough of them for it to be considered a production vehicle. I think, the Bugatti Chiron is going to be challenging that 270 number next year. But actually, just this past week, while Hennessey was showing off their vehicle in Vegas, right outside Vegas, Koenigsegg was setting a new top speed record. They shut down the Nevada highway between Vegas and Pahrump and just went for apparently there's 11-mile straightaway there. And so that's where they, in the new Koenigsegg Agera RS, they hit a top speed of 277.9 miles per hour. And that's just an average of the two speeds. They did 2 runs, one direction, one in the other direction. They actually hit 284.3 miles per hour in the other direction. But then 272 in the other, so they averaged them out to the 277.9. But basically, this thing does 284 miles per hour, and you can watch the video to see them doing that run. It's crazy how the road lines just blur basically into one single solid line when you're going that fast. And the crazy thing was they did this top speed run on standard Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2 tires. So that's pretty impressive because I'm sure that's well beyond their speed rating, and they held up and did it, and so that's a feat on its own. And so anyway, yeah, the RS, for those that don't remember, it has 1,360 horsepower and 1,011 pound-feet of torque. So less than the Hennessey. So the Hennessey has the numbers to do 300, I think, theoretically. So we'll see if they can, actually deliver on that. But anyway, in the meantime, the Koenigsegg Agera RS is the new top speed record holder here. So very cool to see that. Other SEMA news last week is they revealed just 3 pictures of the new Jeep Wrangler. They did this because they have, I think they said over 100 Mopar accessories already ready to go for the JL Wranglers here. And so that's going to be pretty cool that you can really customize them, and you can order all this stuff before the car even reaches the dealership. So they can install this stuff right outside of the factory, and so you can have a fully customized Jeep Wrangler delivered to you and factored in with the financing and everything right off the bat, which is really cool that they have that at launch. But Anyway, from those three pictures, you can see what the Wrangler looks like. Looks very good, and I'm also showing some other spy photos that were taken recently this past week too. And now I guess since they've revealed it kind of at SEMA, they're just like, oh, we'll just drive around completely uncamouflaged for all of our test vehicles, which is funny because they said the full reveal isn't going to actually happen until the LA Auto Show here at the end of this month, and that's when we'll get all the details on it as far as pricing, engines, availability, all that kind of stuff. But anyway, it looks really good. They also showed off just this past week 2 pictures of the interior where we see it's a lot more colorful, and I really like that kind of retro cue with harkening back to the Jeeps of old that had painted dashboards there for the old ones. And you also see the nice large Uconnect infotainment screen that they have in these, which is going to be a huge leap forward from the very outdated infotainment system in current Wranglers, and so that's going to be a really nice improvement there. And overall looks like a pretty nice interior, really a huge step up there for the Wrangler. And yeah, so we'll have all the details later on this month. But anyway, I think it actually looks really good. I like how they, evolved the design, but it still is, very much true to its basic roots there. And I think it looks fantastic, honestly. So well done there on the Jeep Wrangler restyle. Another interesting FCA product that got a little bit of a little leak, I guess, is the 2019 Ram interior was leaked, where we see a brand new infotainment system, which maybe this could be the next gen version of the Uconnect touchscreen, since that's been around for several years now. But what we see is a much larger vertical touchscreen there right in the center. Looks really cool, and yeah, we don't know much more about it. We've already seen the new Ram kind of basically completely uncovered, with very minimal camo, and so we should be seeing a full reveal of this new truck in the Detroit Auto Show in January. And so, yeah, we should have all the details and better look at the interior then. Nissan this past week announced new pricing for the 2018 GT-R, as well as a nice little improvement to it. So first off, the big deal here is the GT-R is now once again technically under $100,000, thanks to a new Pure trim. So I think they finally heard the complaints of everyone saying this car is ballooning in price. We need to chill out with all these additions and stuff. So there's a new Pure model that starts at $99,990 before destination. So technically it's like 101, but it's basically 10 grand cheaper than a outgoing GT-R, the 2017 premium. And so basically to create this Pure trim, what they did was they just removed the 11 speaker Bose stereo. I'm assuming there's a better stereo, but maybe it's without a stereo, I don't know. But I think it's just a more standard stereo. So 11 speaker Bose system is gone, active noise cancellation is gone, as well as the active sound enhancement system. So those things are things, the noise cancellation might be nice, but the sound enhancement a lot of people want to get rid of anyway. So they got rid of that stuff, so that's like an improvement. And then also got rid of the lighter titanium exhaust, which makes sense because most people put aftermarket exhaust on their GT-R anyway, so why have this big expensive exhaust system on it that everyone's going to rip out anyway? So all those things bring it down 10 grand. So, that's really a no-brainer thing. The only thing I might miss personally would be the Bose system, but the other stuff they can keep. So that's awesome that they have this new Pure trim. The premium trim is still available if you'd like for, I think, about 110 or 111. And the Nismo is also going to be available again for 2018. Those ones get a $500 increase for both Nismo and premium trims. So yeah, but the other big change though is now all 2018 GT-Rs, including that Pure trim, gets Apple CarPlay, which is huge because when I reviewed the Nismo just a month ago, the Nismo and all the GT-Rs have a pretty horrible infotainment system, to be perfectly honest. It's just very underwhelming. And so now with Apple CarPlay, that is fixed, because now you can have great Apple Maps, you can have the nicer, easier infotainment system and better sound quality, and overall you just don't have to be bothered with the Nissan system. You can just use Apple CarPlay and you're set. So that's a huge improvement, and really awesome they were able to add that. So really great improvements there for the 2018 GT-R. Another vehicle that was spied this past week is the 2019 Volkswagen Jetta GLI. And we can tell it's the GLI because it's got the sportier wheels on it and a little bit of a more aggressive look, although there's still very heavy camo all over the vehicle, so it's kind of hard to see much other than the idea that it's definitely larger than the outgoing Jetta by a good bit. They're saying it'll most likely have the same motor as the 2018 GTI, which is like the 220 horsepower, 258 pound-feet of torque. Maybe it'll get a little bit more, but that's probably all you should expect, I guess. And they're saying that the new Jetta could debut at the Detroit Auto Show once again in January. That makes sense because it's reported that production is actually going to be starting in December. So they'll have these things already off the production line by the time the debut happens in January. So that's cool to see. And yeah, Detroit's shaping up to be a really big big show with lots of debuts, and there's even more to come here later on in the weekly update I'm going to be mentioning. So, and I will be at the Detroit Auto Show here this upcoming January, so I'll be able to cover all this stuff live and in person for you guys. But other Jetta news here is that it's actually being discontinued in the UK. They're not bringing Jettas over to the United Kingdom anymore. They said it's basically just because of slow sales. They sell roughly 52,000 Golfs, at least they have so far this year. They've only sold 379 Jettas. So, I mean, just nobody's interested in the Jetta apparently in the UK, and so they've killed it. It just makes sense. Now, the next gen version might make a return, but with just how unpopular the current one is, I highly doubt they're going to ever bring the Jetta back over to the UK. But yeah, so the Golf and all the other, sedans, the Passat and stuff will still be available in the UK. It's just the Jetta that is being discontinued. Another more notable car that's really sad is that the people that import the Subaru WRX STI into the UK are no longer going to be importing it. So they've basically killed the WRX STI in the UK. It's, pretty crazy. They're sending it off with a final edition, and the final edition for the UK is essentially the 2018 model that the rest of the world gets, except you also get special badges and red seatbelts. That's really the only differences I can see based off of the description here of it. They're only making 150 of these, so you get 150 of the 2018s for those of you in the UK, and then that's it. No more WRX STIs. This could be potentially because, a new STI is hopefully coming around 2020, but there's no guarantee. And Subaru is actually quoted as saying here, with the launches of new models and investment in platform and powertrains going forward, the timing has felt right to open a new chapter for Subaru and allow WRX STI's heritage to inform future developments rather than being continued. And if that doesn't sound scary, I don't know what does. Saying, this is a good point to have a new chapter for Subaru. And I've been kind of nervous that this has been coming anyway because Subaru in general just seems to be getting softer and softer. I mean, yes, the new WRX is nice. It's a good car. The BRZ is still fun, but they're just not developing them anymore. And they're starting to get outdated really easily and just become obsolete. And they're investing all their interest in three-row SUVs like the rest of the manufacturers out there. But it just seems like Subaru is losing a little bit of their soul, and they're just trying to go more mainstream as their sales surge. And I don't know. I mean, again, this is only for the UK, and it might only be temporary for a year or two before the new one comes, but it really sounds scary based off Subaru's own words here that they're trying to open a new chapter and close this old one and just kill off the STI. Maybe they'll still have a WRX model, the STI is no longer coming. So, yes, we know there's the Visive Performance concept they just showed at the Tokyo Motor Show, which has a hood scoop and stuff. So, I mean, there's no reason to believe the WRX is being killed off. And we know they want to do an expansion of the STI line, outside of the Impreza platform. We already know that because they've said that multiple times. They want to expand STI to be almost like an AMG of sorts for Subaru. So they've said that, and then they go and kill the STI in the UK. It just really doesn't make any sense, to be perfectly honest. So I'm not sure, what to expect here from Subaru over the next couple of years. I mean, hopefully we'll start seeing some development mules of some new, WRX out and about, and see what they happen to come up with. But yeah, kind of crazy there. But anyway, fingers crossed those of you in the UK get these again sometime in the future. Another vehicle that's discontinued that's not quite as heartbreaking, but only for the United States here, the Range Rover Evoque Coupe is no longer going to be available. And again, it's just because of slow sales. No one's buying the Coupe. The two-door convertible will still be available here in the States, but otherwise it's just the four-door model and that's it. I think those of you over in the UK still get the two-door coupe version, but for those of us here, no more coupes are going to be available. And I really hate being the bearer of bad news, but there's a little bit more here to talk about. Car Advice, the magazine spoke to Nissan's product planning boss, and they were talking about future Z products, or lack thereof. I know a lot of you have been asking every week, any more Z news? Is there any new news about a Z? Well, here you go. Here's your news. The Nissan product planning boss said there is a lot of passion behind this vehicle, the 370Z. He said, at the same time, it's a segment that is gradually declining, making the case more difficult. He means the business case, the same struggle that a lot of these other car companies have had with coming up with new sports cars. They're just too expensive to make and don't sell enough. He says, we have no intention to quit excitement, but we're going to make it happen in different ways. So you can guarantee that means it's going to be an SUV, because they're the hot segment. You can make a sporty SUV. Those are very popular these days. And I think they've been dabbling with this idea for a while, because we had the Grips concept, which is a two-door, rally-looking SUV. It was a crossover. It was, supposed to be sporty and stuff. And so, yes, they say they want to still build exciting cars, but a little two-door sports car might not be the way, because it just doesn't sell. So, I don't know. He says, to further kind of complicate things, he says they have no ideas about what the next Z car will even be. He says, I can say we don't even have a fixed thing yet in mind. So they don't even have an idea what they want to do for the next Z car. So if they're that far out, they don't even have a clue what to do with it. The idea of even, proposing something, getting it approved, developing it, and then coming out with it, I think the 370Z is just going to eventually get killed off, and there will be several years where there is no Z car if it ever does make a return. And if it does, it might not even be a Z car. It might be some kind of Z SUV. But basically, it sounds like, I feel like they would have said if they were doing some kind of stripped out Infiniti Q60 and making that a Z. I think that's still the easiest and smartest way to go about it, to be perfectly honest. But it sounds like they have no interest in that. And so it's either, some kind of SUV in the future, or who knows what. But do not hold your breath for a new Z. It is not happening, at least not for a long, long time. So again, really sucks to report this, but that's just the way it is, unfortunately. So, some other stuff here. Speaking of SUVs, the next-gen BMW X5 was spied, and it looks, how you would expect a new X5 to look. It does look sharp, though, with the new styling language that's, similar to what you see on the new 5 Series and all that kind of stuff. And this, the debut for this could be seen as soon as the Detroit Auto Show in January, although it might be a little bit later as well. But anyway, cool to see that spied running around. Another SUV that's likely to debut at the Detroit Auto Show is the Mercedes G-Wagon, the new G-Class. They're going to be a completely new version on an all-new platform, and that's going to be supposedly revealed at the Detroit Auto Show, it seems. We've already seen it spy testing many times. There's been a few outlets that are saying, oh, the G-Wagon is being killed off. And all that we know so far is the G65 is being killed off. We know they're continuing to build the other ones, although they're all going to die off eventually because we'll have this new G-Wagon. So they're whipping everyone up into, hysterics, saying, oh, the G-Wagon's dying. Well, that's because there's a new one coming. That's why they're killing the old one. Just not some actual news there. There will be a new G-Wagon for those of you that love them. Other Mercedes news, though, the C63 Coupe was spied testing on the Nürburgring here this past week, and as we can see here from the light camo, we can see there's some new headlights there. The new Pan America grille is kind of hiding beneath that camo. It's going to have new front and rear bumpers, new taillights as well. Probably have some infotainment and other interior improvements that are slight and small just for a refreshed C63 Coupe. Most likely we'll still have the same power numbers and transmission, all that kind of stuff. But it should just be some nice little improvements there to keep it fresh, and so cool to see that. Another vehicle that was spied by Mercedes was a 2019 CLS. Now, we've seen this spied many times before, but now we can see it with a little less camo. We can see more of the swoopy lines it's going to have here for the CLS, and that is going to be debuting at the LA Auto Show at the end of this month, so we'll be seeing it completely, the official reveal here in just a couple of weeks. But anyway, cool to see those spy shots. Another vehicle that was spied was the Bentley Flying Spur. So this is going to be, very similar to the new Continental GT as far as its looks go. And it does look good from what we can see there, again, from through the camouflage and whatnot. The big news for the Flying Spur, though, is it's going to be on the all-new Panamera platform, and so have the same kind of underpinnings as the Porsche Panamera, and should make it a much better handler, as well as still being very luxurious. And that could debut at the Geneva Motor Show, in late February, early March of next year, or it could be later on in the year. We'll have to wait and see. But anyway, cool to see them working on that. GMC was spy testing the Sierra this past week, and we just saw the Silverado 2 weeks ago. And so now we see the Sierra, which does look like it's going to be a little bit more different than the two have been in the past. But it looks like up front there, those headlights look very similar to a brand new Ford Expedition as far as the headlights go. I'm sure the camouflage is hiding some elements that will differentiate them hopefully a little bit more. But does look good from what we can see there so far. That could possibly be revealed at the Detroit Auto Show as well, where I think, the Ram is going to be debuted, and probably the Silverado as well, although, they may save that for the Chicago Auto Show, where a lot of trucks and SUVs are often revealed as well. So we'll have to wait and see. But either way, should see some kind of debut of that this winter. Other official debuts here from General Motors. They officially revealed the 2018 Buick LaCrosse Avenir. So the Avenir is just a new top-of-the-line trim that was first shown on the Enclave, and now we have it here for the LaCrosse. And so basically it gives you that nice chrome mesh grille that looks a lot more expensive than the standard grills there on the LaCrosse. It's got some nicer wheels. You have an exclusive chestnut brown leather interior, and a few other nice little improvements and standard features. No pricing has been announced, but I think the top of the line LaCrosse currently is like 42 and change, so this will be definitely over that. So they say it'll be on sale early next year, and so cool to see that. And every few weeks, it seems Lotus has a new, faster Lotus set that they're revealing. And this week, we have another new one. This one is the Lotus, it's called the Exige Cup 430. And so it's, again, the most powerful Lotus ever. But this one's actually a pretty big change. So instead of giving it like an extra 5 horsepower and tweaking things, this one, they actually just dropped the Evora 430 motor into the Exige. So it's got 430 horsepower now in the Exige, 55 more than the most powerful Exige before, which was no slouch to begin with. And these things only weigh 2,410 pounds here for this new one. So 3.2 seconds 0 to 60, 180 mile per hour top speed. But it's mostly just going to come down to the handling of this thing. It's going to be really insane, for a car that small with that much power. They say it's the fastest road car Lotus has ever tested. But of course, it's only going to be available in the UK, Germany, and France, because otherwise it doesn't pass, US crash regulations and all that kind of stuff. So, the Exige hasn't been sold here for a couple of years now, sadly. But for those of you across the pond, congrats, you have a new, very sweet Lotus for those that are interested in them. I think they said the starting price is going to be around 100,000 pounds. And so it could be, I think that's like 130 grand here with the exchange rates currently, just to put it in perspective for those of us here in the States. But anyway, cool to see that. Some other interesting Lotus news, though, this past week is there was a leaked patent image, or a couple of patent images here, that were posted by PCAuto.cn of what is most likely the new Lotus SUV. So we knew they've announced plans for an SUV. They said they have to do it simply to keep the company afloat and to finance their sports cars. And it's just, SUVs just print money regardless of who makes them. And so it's just one of those things they got to do. Then they said it's going to be sporty and it's going to be awesome, though. And you can see there up front, it's got some cues from the Lotus Elise, but it does also look very similar to a Jaguar E-Pace up front there, at least to my eye. Out back, it looks refreshingly new and different and looks really good there with the circular taillights. Anyway, they're saying the goal for this thing as far as weight goes is they want it to weigh 3,520 pounds or less. We'll see if they meet that goal or not, but they say they're targeting the Macan, and if that's the case, they're going to have it's almost going to be 1,000 pounds lighter than a Macan. So it should be a very impressive handling SUV, and that's typical for Lotus, so that would totally fit. They say that, according to rumors, it could be using a Toyota 4-cylinder engine. And if that's the case, I really hope it's a supercharged 4-cylinder, kind of like what you see in the pumped-up versions of the Exige and whatnot, because that would be okay, but I think, honestly, it'd be awesome to have the Evora's supercharged V6 and, have these 400 horsepower versions, then you'd have something really impressive there. So anyway, they were planning to build it in China and then export it worldwide. So hopefully we would get it here in the States. I'm almost certain we would, because we're one of the #1 SUV buyers. And so anyway, this is still probably about 4 years away or so. So still a little ways to go. But anyway, cool to see them working on that. And hopefully they stay true to making it really sporty and awesome. Some other awesome British car news is Aston Martin has posted a new teaser for the new Vantage. And it doesn't really show the new Vantage at all. It just shows a wolf. But it's basically just announcing that they're going to be debuting it on November 21st. And then they have the hashtag beautiful won't be tamed. And I'm telling you what, I mean, just based off of the camouflaged images they've officially revealed already, it already looks so gorgeous. It looks like really similar to the DB10 from Spectre, the James Bond movie. And so, yes, that thing is going to make me swoon. That is for sure. They're saying most likely it'll have a V8 debut first, using the same motor that's in the DB11 V8, which is the AMG sourced 4-liter twin-turbo V8, which does 500 horsepower and Aston Martin trim there. So it could most likely have very, very similar numbers there to start. 500 horsepower still is plenty for a smaller car like the Vantage. And then there will be a V12 version down the line as well. And there's also, they've been saying there will be a manual as well, most likely. So all good news there. But anyway, can't wait to see the official reveal of that in just a couple of weeks. That thing is going to be a stunner, I'm sure. And the second to last story here is about Tesla. So there's always, lots of Tesla news just about every single day, it seems. But the main thing I want to mention here with Tesla is they've been having a lot of production issues with the Model 3, with just not being able to produce them fast enough, and they're not meeting their production targets. And so they actually said they've officially delayed volume production by 3 months. By volume, they mean like high number production, because I think they've only built like 260 of them so far or something like that. So they're saying that, they were aiming to do like 5,000 units per week by the end of December. Now they're saying it's not going to be till the end of the first quarter of 2018. So we're talking like end of March, April. And so, yeah, that's when they're going to start hopefully doing 5,000 units per week. But they're just having all these production bottlenecks that are making it really tough for them. I think they said it was with the assembly of the batteries that's holding them up. And so, yeah, hopefully it doesn't hurt them too much, because, I mean, there's a lot of pent-up demand for the Model 3. So we'll just have to wait and see how long people are willing to wait to actually get their Model 3, because it sounds like it's just the waiting just gets pushed longer and longer for how long they're going to have to wait. Other Tesla news, though, that's kind of cool, is they just introduced a chill mode for the Model S and Model X this past week. And so basically it gives you gentler acceleration, more gradual acceleration, because they say apparently with how powerful and quick these things are to accelerate, people that aren't gentle with the accelerator pedal, get these things up and going really fast. And I guess people are requesting some kind of gentler acceleration. And I guess that's for people who can't modulate their gas pedal effectively. So there's this new mode. You can make it so that the power comes on more gradually and makes it easier to drive smoothly and slowly, which is appreciated by passengers, I'm sure, as well. And so, hey, give people more options. The more options, the better. And so cool to see that. And the last quick little thing I want to mention is some of you are asking when 2018 Mustangs were going to be arriving at dealers. And the first 2018 Mustangs have actually just started showing up at dealerships around the country here. So those of you that are curious to check them out in person for yourself can check their inventory online and check them out if you're so interested. But yeah, very exciting to hear that. And yeah, can't wait to hopefully see some kind of bullet here. The new rumors are saying Detroit is pretty certain here in January, which again, I will be at Detroit, so I'm very excited, and hopefully we see the new Bullet edition then. But yes, that's it for all the news this week, guys. So let me know all your thoughts about everything in the comments below. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take care.